Before we dive into this spine-chilling tale of love, mystery, and the supernatural, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications because this story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about reality. Drop a comment right now. Do you believe in spirits? Let's get into this incredible story. In the heart of Lagos City, there lived a successful software engineer named Marcus Thompson. At 32 years old, Marcus had everything a modern African man could want: a high-paying job at a tech startup, a luxury apartment in the upscale cantonment's neighborhood, a brand-new Range Rover, and respect from everyone who knew him. He was the kind of man mothers pointed to when lecturing their sons about success. Women admired him. Men envied him. But despite all his achievements, Marcus was lonely. His work consumed most of his time. 12-hour days in front of computer screens, debugging code, attending virtual meetings with international clients, managing projects that stretched across multiple time zones. Dating had become nearly impossible. The few relationships he'd attempted over the years had failed because he couldn't give them the time and attention they deserved. His last girlfriend had left him 6 months ago, frustrated by his constant work obsession and emotional unavailability. Since then, Marcus had thrown himself even deeper into work, convincing himself that success was enough, that he didn't need love or companionship. But late at night, in his expensive apartment filled with the latest gadgets and designer furniture, Marcus felt the emptiness. He would sit on his balcony overlooking the glittering city lights, drinking expensive whiskey, and wondering if this was all life had to offer. Money, status, success, but no one to share it with. No genuine connection, no warmth. Just the cold glow of computer screens and the hollow echo of an empty home. One Friday evening, after a particularly exhausting week, Marcus decided to do something he rarely did: go out. His best friend Kevin had been begging him for months to join him at a new upscale lounge that had opened in OSU. Marcus usually declined these invitations, preferring to work or rest. But tonight, something pushed him to say yes. He showered, dressed in designer casual wear, and met Kevin at the lounge around 9 o'clock. The place was sophisticated and vibrant, filled with Accra's young professional elite. The music was a perfect blend of Afrobeats and contemporary jazz. The lighting was dim and atmospheric. Marcus ordered a drink and settled into a leather booth, half listening to Kevin talk about his latest business ventures. Then he saw her. She was standing near the bar, and Marcus couldn't look away. She was absolutely stunning, tall and graceful, with flawless dark skin that seemed to glow under the lounge's ambient lighting, and eyes that were so captivating they seemed almost otherworldly. She wore a simple but elegant red dress that hugged her curves perfectly. Her natural hair was styled in beautiful locks that cascaded down her shoulders. But it wasn't just her physical beauty that caught Marcus's attention. There was something else, something indefinable. An aura, a presence, an energy that drew him like a magnet. He watched as she ordered a drink, completely unaware of the dozens of men staring at her. She seemed serene, almost ethereal, existing in her own peaceful world despite the chaos of the crowded lounge. Kevin noticed Marcus staring and nudged him. "Man, go talk to her. What are you waiting for?" Marcus, who normally avoided approaching women in public, found himself standing up and walking toward her before his brain could talk him out of it. "Hi, I'm Marcus," he said, his voice surprisingly steady despite his racing heart. She turned to look at him, and when their eyes met, Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. Her smile was warm and genuine. "Hello, Marcus. I'm Amara." Her voice was soft and melodious, with an accent he couldn't quite place. They talked for hours that night. Amara was intelligent, funny, and deeply interesting. She spoke about art, philosophy, spirituality, and culture with a depth that fascinated Marcus. She seemed to know things about the world that felt ancient and profound. When Marcus asked what she did for a living, she smiled mysteriously and said, "I help people find what they're looking for." By the end of the night, Marcus was completely enchanted. He asked for her number, and she gave it to him without hesitation. As he drove home that night, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years: genuine excitement about another person. Amara was different from anyone he'd ever met. There was a depth to her, a mystery that made him want to know everything about her. Over the next few weeks, Marcus and Amara became inseparable. They went on dates to art galleries, restaurants, beach resorts, and cultural festivals. Amara fit perfectly into Marcus's life in ways no woman ever had before. She understood his demanding work schedule and never complained when he had to cancel plans for urgent projects. In fact, Amara seemed to encourage his work, often staying up with him during late-night coding sessions, bringing him food and coffee, offering insights that sometimes helped him solve complex problems. She was supportive, understanding, and affectionate. Marcus's friends loved her. His colleagues were impressed when he brought her to company events. Even his traditionally particular mother approved of Amara during a video call, saying she could see that this woman genuinely cared for her son. The relationship moved quickly. Within 2 months, Amara had essentially moved into Marcus's apartment. She was there every morning when he woke up and every night when he came home from work. She cooked amazing traditional meals that reminded Marcus of his grandmother's cooking. She kept the apartment clean and organized. She was affectionate and attentive. The sex was incredible, passionate, and intense in ways Marcus had never experienced. For the first time in his adult life, Marcus felt truly happy. He felt complete. But perfection, as Marcus would soon discover, always comes with a price. The first strange thing Marcus noticed was that Amara never ate the food she cooked. She would prepare elaborate meals for him, watching with satisfaction as he ate. But when he offered to share or asked her to join him, she would smile and say she'd already eaten or wasn't hungry. At first, Marcus thought maybe she was self-conscious about eating in front of him. But after 2 months of living together, he realized he had literally never seen Amara eat anything. Not a single bite of food. Not even a snack. The second strange thing was her absence during certain hours. Amara was always there when Marcus woke up in the morning and always there when he went to bed at night. But she was never there between 2 and 5 in the afternoon. Every single day, without fail, she would make an excuse about running errands or visiting a friend, and she would be gone for exactly 3 hours. Marcus's attempts to join her or meet these supposed friends were always gently deflected. When he suggested they have lunch together during his work break, Amara would have reasons why it wouldn't work. The third strange thing was that Amara had no digital footprint. In an age where everyone had social media accounts, online presence, digital records, Amara seemed to exist outside of technology. She had no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, no LinkedIn. When Marcus tried to search for her online, he found absolutely nothing. No photos, no mentions, no history. It was as if she didn't exist in the digital world. When he asked about it, Amara would laugh and say she valued privacy and didn't believe in social media. It seemed reasonable, but something about it nagged at Marcus. Marcus's best friend Kevin was the first to voice concerns. They were having drinks one evening when Kevin leaned in and said carefully, "Brother, I need to ask you something about Amara. Has she introduced you to any of her family or friends? Do you know where she lived before moving in with you? Do you know anything concrete about her past?" Marcus realized with a jolt that the answer to all those questions was no. Despite living together for 3 months, despite being deeply in love, Marcus knew almost nothing factual about Amara's life before they met. He didn't know where she grew up, where she went to school, what her parents did, if she had siblings, where she worked, or even where she lived before. Whenever he asked, Amara would give vague, poetic answers that sounded beautiful but revealed nothing concrete. "I come from a place between worlds," she once said. "My family is everywhere and nowhere." Marcus had thought it was charming mysteriousness. Now it felt unsettling. That night, Marcus decided to investigate. When Amara left for her usual 3-hour disappearance the next afternoon, Marcus did something he'd never done before. He followed her. Amara left his apartment building on foot, walking with purpose toward the old part of the city. Marcus followed at a distance in his car, his heart pounding with guilt and curiosity. She walked for nearly an hour, moving through neighborhoods that became progressively more run-down and isolated. Finally, she turned into an area Marcus didn't recognize, an old, abandoned section of Accra that had been slated for demolition years ago, but had somehow been forgotten. Condemned buildings stood like skeletal remains. Streets were empty and silent. No people, no traffic, no life. Amara walked to a particular abandoned building, looked around carefully, and then stepped inside. Marcus parked his car and followed on foot, his software engineer's logical mind warring with growing supernatural dread. He peered through a broken window, and what he saw made his blood run cold. Amara stood in the center of an empty room, surrounded by candles arranged in a perfect circle. She was chanting in a language Marcus didn't recognize, her voice echoing strangely in the empty space. And then, right before Marcus's eyes, Amara began to change. Her beautiful form shimmered and became translucent. Her feet lifted slightly off the ground. Her eyes, which had always been captivating, now glowed with an otherworldly light. Other forms appeared in the room, shadowy, ethereal figures that seemed to exist between solid and vapor. They gathered around Amara, and together they performed what could only be described as a ritual. Marcus watched in frozen horror as the woman he loved revealed herself to be something not entirely human. "This is absolutely insane. If you're as terrified as Marcus right now, hit that like button and share this with someone who loves supernatural stories. Drop a comment. Would you continue a relationship if you discovered your partner wasn't human? Let's see what Marcus does. Marcus stumbled backward from the window, his mind unable to process what he'd just witnessed. He ran back to his car, drove home in a daze, and sat in his apartment trying to convince himself that he'd hallucinated or misunderstood what he'd seen. But he knew the truth. Amara was not human. She was something else. A spirit. An entity. Something from a realm he didn't understand and couldn't explain with his logical, technical mind. When Amara returned home exactly 3 hours later, looking perfectly normal and beautiful, Marcus pretended everything was fine. But his hands shook as he hugged her. His voice wavered when he spoke to her. Over the next week, Marcus became obsessed with finding answers. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on work. He spent hours researching online, diving into forums about the supernatural, reading about African spiritual beliefs, searching for any explanation. He learned about spirit wives, supernatural beings from African folklore who would attach themselves to human men, sometimes bringing blessings, sometimes bringing curses. These spirits could take perfect human form, could live among humans, could even love humans in their own way. But they were not human, and relationships with them always ended in tragedy. Marcus found stories of men who had unknowingly married spirit wives. Some men had lost their minds. Others had died mysterious deaths. Some had become successful beyond measure, but lost their humanity in the process. All the stories had one thing in common. Once a spirit wife claimed you, breaking free was nearly impossible. Marcus's hands trembled as he read account after account of men trapped in relationships with beautiful, perfect women who were actually supernatural entities. Marcus decided he needed spiritual help. He found a respected traditional priest in Accra, a man named Neo-Kaija who was known for his wisdom and spiritual sight. When Marcus arrived at the priest's compound and explained his situation, Neo-Kaija's face grew grave. "Describe her to me," the priest commanded. Marcus described Amara in detail. Her appearance, her behaviors, the strange patterns, the 3-hour disappearances, the fact that she never ate, her lack of digital presence. Neo-Kaija closed his eyes and performed a divination ritual. When he opened his eyes, they were filled with concern. "Young man, you are in great danger. The woman you live with is indeed a spirit wife. She is what we call Mami Wada's daughter, a powerful water spirit who has taken human form. She has chosen you for reasons you do not yet understand. These beings do not love as humans love. They possess. They consume. They fulfill their own purposes, and humans are merely vessels." Marcus felt his world crumbling. "But she seems to genuinely care for me. She's never hurt me. She's only brought good things into my life." Neo-Kaija shook his head sadly. "That is how they work. They seduce with perfection. They give you everything you've ever wanted: love, companionship, success, pleasure. But there is always a price. Tell me, has your life become too perfect? Have things been going suspiciously well for you since she arrived?" Marcus thought about it and realized with horror that it was true. Since meeting Amara, everything in his life had improved dramatically. He'd received a massive promotion at work that he hadn't even applied for. His projects were succeeding beyond expectations. His income had tripled. Opportunities were falling into his lap. He'd attributed it to good luck and hard work. But now he wondered if Amara had been manipulating his fortune supernaturally. "What does she want from me?" Marcus asked, his voice breaking. Neo-Kaija performed another divination, and his expression darkened further. "She wants your life force, your essence, your soul. Slowly, over years, she will drain you until you are an empty shell, and then she will move to another victim. The success, the love, the perfection, it is all bait. You are being fattened like livestock before slaughter. But there is something else, something unusual." The priest paused, looking confused. "The spirits are showing me that she genuinely has developed feelings for you. This is extremely rare. Spirit wives do not typically form real emotional attachments to their victims." This revelation made everything more complicated. Amara was a supernatural predator, yes, but she had also fallen in love with Marcus in whatever way a spirit could love. This meant she might not willingly let him go, and it also meant the situation was more dangerous than typical spirit wife encounters. "What do I do?" Marcus asked desperately. "How do I break free from her?" Neo-Kaija sighed deeply. "There is only one way. You must confront her with the truth. You must reject her completely and utterly, breaking the spiritual bond. But be warned, a spirit wife scorned is incredibly dangerous. She could kill you. She could curse you. She could destroy everything you love. You must be prepared for that possibility." Marcus returned home that evening with a heavy heart. Amara greeted him with her usual warm smile, preparing his favorite meal, completely unaware that he knew her secret. Marcus watched her moving around the kitchen, looking perfectly human, perfectly beautiful, perfectly loving. Part of him wanted to forget everything he'd learned, to just continue living in the blissful illusion. But he knew he couldn't. His soul, his very humanity, was at stake. That night, as they sat together on the balcony under the stars, Marcus finally spoke. Amara, I know what you are. She turned to him slowly, her expression unreadable. What do you mean? Her voice was carefully neutral. I followed you yesterday. I saw the ritual. I saw you transform. I know you're not human. I know you're a spirit. For a long moment, Amara said nothing. Then, slowly, she smiled. But this smile was different from any he'd seen before. It was sad, ancient, and filled with a sorrow that seemed to span centuries. I wondered when you would discover the truth, she said softly. Most men never do. They live their whole lives in the illusion, and I prefer it that way. But you, Marcus, you're too observant, too intelligent. I should have known you'd figure it out. Marcus's heart pounded. Why me? Why did you choose me? Amara looked out over the city lights, her eyes reflecting depths Marcus couldn't fathom. I've existed for over 300 years, Marcus. I've had many human companions in that time. Men I've cared for, helped, and yes, eventually consumed. It's what I am. It's my nature, like how a lion must hunt or a river must flow. But you, she continued, turning to face him with those otherworldly eyes, you were different. When I first saw you at that lounge, I sensed something in you, a loneliness, a yearning that matched my own. For all my power, for all my immortality, I am profoundly lonely. I exist between worlds, belonging fully to neither. I saw in you a kindred spirit, someone who might understand that loneliness. And then I did something I've never done before. I fell in love with you. Real love, not the mimicry I usually perform. Marcus felt tears welling in his eyes. If you truly love me, then let me go. Don't consume my soul. Don't drain my life force. Release me. Amara's expression crumbled with pain that looked heartbreakingly human. You don't understand. I can't. It's not a choice. It's what I am. Loving you doesn't change my nature. Even now, without meaning to, I'm slowly taking your essence. It's like breathing for me. Automatic, necessary, unavoidable. In 5 years, maybe 10 if you're strong, you'll be an empty shell. And I'll move on to another lonely soul because that's what I do. That's what I am. Then kill me now, Marcus said, his voice steady despite his terror. If I'm going to die anyway, make it quick. Don't make me live as your puppet, slowly losing myself. Amara looked shocked. I could never hurt you intentionally. I love you. Then prove it, Marcus challenged. Prove that your love is real. Let me go? Break the bond. Give me back my life, even if it means you'll be alone again. Amara was silent for a long time, tears streaming down her face, tears that shimmered like liquid moonlight. Finally, she spoke, her voice broken with emotion. If I do this, if I release you, I can never be with another human again. The spiritual laws are clear. A spirit who willingly releases a claimed soul must give up the right to claim another. I would be condemned to eternal loneliness, wandering between worlds forever without companionship or connection. Are you asking me to choose that fate? Marcus took her hands, surprised to find them trembling. I'm asking you to choose love over possession. Real love means wanting the other person's well-being more than your own happiness. If you truly love me, set me free. Let me live my human life fully, even if it's without you. Amara closed her eyes, and more luminous tears fell. You're asking me to sacrifice everything. I'm asking you to love me the way I deserve to be loved, freely, without conditions, without consumption. The silence stretched between them like an eternity. Then Amara stood up, her form beginning to shimmer and shift. Very well, Marcus. Because I love you more than I love my own existence, I will do this thing. But know that this moment, right here, is the most painful thing I have experienced in 3 centuries of existence. She raised her hands and began to chant in that ancient language Marcus had heard before. The air around them crackled with supernatural energy. Marcus felt something being pulled out of him, not painfully, but noticeably, like removing splinters from deep in his skin. The bond between them was breaking. Marcus could feel it snapping, unraveling, dissolving. As it broke, he saw flashes of the past months from Amara's perspective, her genuine joy at being with him, her real laughter and love, her struggle against her own nature to avoid hurting him, her profound loneliness that had existed long before he was born and would continue long after he died. She had truly loved him in the only way she knew how. When the ritual was complete, Amara stumbled backward, looking diminished somehow, less solid, less present. "It is done," she whispered. "You're free. The bond is broken. I've released your essence back to you." Marcus felt different immediately. Lighter, more himself, like he'd been carrying an invisible weight that had suddenly lifted. "What happens to you now?" he asked. Amara smiled sadly. "I return to the between spaces. I wonder. I watch the world from a distance. I remain alone. Forever." She began to fade, becoming more translucent with each passing second. "Will I ever see you again?" Marcus asked, surprised by how much the thought of never seeing her again hurt despite everything. "Sometimes, when you dream, you might glimpse me in the spaces between sleep and waking. And I will always watch over you from afar, protecting you in the ways I can without binding you. That is the last gift I can give you, my love from a distance, harmful to neither of us." She was almost completely transparent now, barely visible against the night sky. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice fading. "Thank you for teaching me what real love means. Thank you for choosing freedom over false perfection. You've given me something I thought impossible: growth, change, understanding. Even in my loneliness, I will cherish that gift." And then she was gone, vanished like morning mist under the rising sun. Marcus stood alone on his balcony, tears streaming down his face, mourning a love that was real but impossible, a connection that was genuine but unsustainable. Over the following weeks, Marcus's life returned to normal in some ways. The supernatural luck faded. Opportunities still came, but through natural means and hard work. He had to actually earn his success again rather than having it handed to him by spiritual manipulation. His friends noticed he seemed more grounded, more present, more fully himself. But he never forgot Amara. Sometimes, in that space between sleeping and waking, he would sense her presence, a gentle warmth, a whispered protection, a love that watched from a distance. She kept her promise, protecting him without possessing him, loving him without consuming him. Marcus eventually moved on, dated other women, even fell in love again in a human, messy, imperfect way. But part of his heart would always belong to the spirit wife who loved him enough to let him go. Years later, Marcus would tell this story to his children, teaching them about the nature of real love. "Real love," he would say, "means wanting the other person to thrive, even if it's without you. Real love means freedom, not possession. Real love sometimes means letting go of the person you want most because keeping them would destroy them. Your mother taught me that love between humans is messy and imperfect. But Amara taught me that true love requires sacrifice and the courage to choose someone else's freedom over your own happiness." So what's the lesson here? Love that controls is not real love, it's possession. Real love always includes freedom and choice. Sometimes the people who seem perfect are hiding dangerous secrets. Supernatural shortcuts to happiness always have hidden costs. And the greatest act of love is sometimes letting someone go, even when it breaks your heart. Not all relationships are meant to last forever, but the real ones change you for the better, teaching you what it means to truly love and be loved. What did you think of this story? Would you have stayed with Amara despite knowing what she was? Do you believe spirits can truly love humans? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your perspective. If this story gave you chills and made you think, smash that like button and share this with someone who loves supernatural romance stories with deep meaning. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we have more incredible African folktales coming that blend the supernatural with powerful life lessons. Check out our playlist for more amazing stories that will blow your mind. Remember, real love means freedom, not possession. Choose relationships that let you grow, not ones that slowly consume you. Trust your instincts when something feels too perfect. And understand that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone go. I'll see you in the next story. Stay blessed.